Right then guys, so welcome back to a brand new video. I don't know why I've decided to do this today, because it's pissing it down. It might be a bit annoying to do, but we are fitting some RallyFlapz. I've only just got one here, the rest is in the back. But we got the full kit from RallyFlapz. So we've got the two rear brackets. Here's one of them. I just bent the brackets how you're instructed to do last night. A little bit confusing, but I'm hoping that it's alright. And then the instructions are kind of a little bit confusing as well, what to put where, all that kind of stuff, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. So I think what we'll do, because it's raining, just going to turn the car around, do maybe one wheel at a time. So obviously you've got to remove the wheel, jack it up. I don't want to be getting soaked, so I think I'll start on the rears. But yeah, we're going to give these a go today. Hopefully it's kind of straightforward and not too confusing. But we've also got the two packs of fitting kits, front fixings and the rear fixings. And yeah, I think we're just going to start and see how it goes really. I've done the front and the rear on this side just because I wanted to get a good idea of how to fit them before I showed you guys. So we've still got the front and rear to do on the other side. I've just driven up onto a brick on the other side on the front because that's the one which we're going to start on first. But yeah, I'll show you how these look. They are incredibly close to the floor. If you can see that, it's literally probably about 2 centimeters away from the floor. So I'm hoping that the coilover isn't going to drop anymore, because when you jack it up and lower it back down again, it does take a little bit of driving, or just even taking the handbrake off, rolling forward and back a couple of times for the coilover to fully reset. So I'm hoping that's as low as that is going to be, because that's probably only about 2 centimeters off the floor. And if we come up to the front one, that's probably just slightly more off the ground. But I think now I'll just jack up on the other side, and we can start on the front. Right, so just got this picture here for reference. That's on the other side. What I'm going to do is just try and line this up as well as I can to try and match this. But basically the gripping lugs, you can see here, there's one hole there, a large hole, and a large hole here. That tiny little hole there is for a self-tapper. Right then, so it will sit like this, and what you're meant to do is, obviously because the arch is rounded, you have these spacers which you'd put the nut through there, or the gripping lug, whatever it's called, and then you put that spacer over the top of it there, and then this little part here is meant to kind of grip on the arch liner which you've drilled the hole for. Got a few of these tiny little self-tapping screws. You're meant to screw this one in first, so it just kind of pivots on one point there, and then you can decide kind of what angle you want it as. So we're going to start. I didn't actually use this hole, I put this screw in slightly over and higher, just because it's meant to screw into this kind of square bit which is sticking out in the arch. I couldn't line it up perfectly, and I just thought it would look a little bit out of line if I used that hole and tried to screw it perfectly in the middle here. So yeah, as I said, I literally just screwed probably about ½ a centimetre to the side of it, to the side of this hole, just so my screw would perfectly go in the middle of this square part. So now I'm just going to try and work out roughly where I had the last, or the mud flap on that side to be. Just getting the missus to measure just underneath my side skirt extension to the bottom of the mud flap, so I can see how high this needs to be. It's a little bit difficult to gauge on your own, so if you are doing this, it's a lot better and easier to have someone with you as well. Alright, so as my gorgeous assistant is helping me, I'm now going to just put the first self-tapper. Obviously I said I'm not using this first hole, if you can see that, that's where the self-tapper is meant to go. But as you can see, it's slightly kind of to that side of the square kind of recess, or the bit which is sticking out in the arch. So I'm just going to go above that and slightly to the side of it. Right, so that self-tapper is in now, and as I said, it can now pivot on that point. Right, so this top point here, if you can see that, this top corner is just flush with the edge of the arch on the other one. So now what you need to do is hold that there. Right, so I'm just changing the drill attachment to I think it was a 6mm drill bit. That corner needs to just be on the edge of the arch, which it is now. And then you just need to go in with the drill. Right, so that top hole is now drilled. Right, so I've just popped the Allen key, which I was using on the rears. I've just popped that through the mud flap into the hole that I've just drilled, so I know that when I drill this hole, this one's going to be lined up as well, if that makes sense. Right, so I've just started drilling that hole. I'm now just going to check where that hole is, just to make sure it's okay. Pivot that round. This has to be perfectly, because obviously you've got the side skirt here as well, and the metal of the actual arch. So it's a little bit muddy down here. But the hole that I've just started to create is just at the end of my finger. Pop that right in the corner against the side skirt, and now just drill through this part. So I've done that just so I know that this has enough room around the bolt, just so it fits in perfectly. So now I'm going to put this through. Put the spacer on the back of this kind of gripping lug that is sent out with the kit. So I'm just going to slide that over there, and now push the gripping lug into that hole that I've just made. And it should just about go in. Right, so the issue that I was having on the other one, which is why I drilled in a few self-tappers, is this just doesn't feel like it's gripping that well. There's probably about 2 or 3 teeth of the gripping on here. There's probably only about 2 or 3 teeth just right at the top, which have actually gripped onto the arch, because obviously when you push the arch, it pushes in. So I was also trying to get something behind the arch so the arch wouldn't move, and then I could push this in so it would be secure, and enough of these teeth were behind the other side of the arch to actually grip it on. So now I'm just going to do the same with this one. Put the 10mm spacer on there, and then obviously when I push that in, the other side of that spacer, there's still a few teeth which haven't gone all the way through. What I done last time is what I'm going to do now actually, is drill a small hole just by the side of the RallyFlapz. So I think it's just because my arches maybe aren't secured properly or something, which is why when you push them, the mud flap or the gripping lug can't actually push through, and then there's not enough teeth which are holding onto the arch, if that makes sense. So I've now just drilled a little hole just in here. I've actually used a Allen key, so I'll put the top of the Allen key through the hole. I'll then twist the Allen key 90 degrees, so it's kind of, I can now pull this, which is holding the arch tight. Now, did you hear that? There was a few teeth that went back through, which is exactly what I want. So now, there is no teeth on show, but from the back of the mud flap to the 10mm spacer. So now all the teeth have gone through to the other side of the arch, which are then holding it in place. Might be difficult to understand, but I think if you've done this yourself, you'd understand what I was talking about, if you might have the same issue with your arches. So yeah, as I said, it came with a few extra self-tappers, which is why I'm just going to put a couple in, maybe only 2 or 3 along here, just because looking at this from the back of the flap side on, you can see there is a slight gap here, whereas if I push this up here, like what a self-tapper would do, then it does kind of close that gap a little bit. Also gives it more stability, which will give me a bit of peace of mind. So I'm just going to go and put these in now. Just got to be very careful not to actually go into your bodywork, your metal work. I am just going to put a third one in the top here, just in case this one kind of pulls away. You can see that's moving the whole arch liner. So I'm just going to try push that in there, and then just put another self-tapper in, maybe in the middle here, just for that extra peace of mind. So that is now secured in. Just make sure they're done up properly, which they are. So now all of these are secure. which is exactly what you want. The instructions don't say about adding extra self-tappers, but as I said, I've just done it for a bit of peace of mind that they are a little bit more secure in there. So now I'm going to put the wheel back on, drop the car, and then we can do the rears. Right, so we're now at the rear. Obviously the wheel is off already. In this arch liner there is this plastic clip, and there is also a plastic clip up here. Don't know if you'll be able to see them, but you just need to use a trim removal tool. Just get behind them and try and prise them out. It can be a little bit difficult sometimes. That's out, and come out, you little shit. Ugh. Why don't you come out, bruv? Maybe just try and get it from different angles. That sometimes helps. There we go. Right, so now both these little lugs are out. You can throw these away because we're replacing these anyway. Right, so now them two lugs are out. There's just a gap in the carpet here and here. Don't know why they'd use a bloody carpet as an arch liner. It's stupid, like fabric-y kind of stuff. But if you can see at the back there is that gap there. That's where the rear reflector was. This thing. I've just removed that because it gives you a bit of access. Because obviously with these parts here, if you can see that, so with this hole here and a hole just up here, which is where these lugs were, gives you a bit of access because you're going to need to nut and bolt it from behind. So now that carpet is free, you need to line it back up with them holes that you've just taken the lugs out of. But then here's the bracket. I've just followed the instructions with these. It was fairly simple. You've just got to do an opposite to each other, because obviously one of them's to the left, one of them's to the right. So you want to make a slight curve in them, if you can see that, because basically it's going to slot over the top of that carpet there, and it pushes in kind of like that. And these holes are lined up to where them holes were and where the lugs were. So what you're replacing them lugs with is this bolt, this washer. Then it goes onto the bracket like this, through that hole, and then you'll have to put another washer on the back and then a nut on the back. Right, so this nut here I've just put in, and then there's a washer on the back and a nut on the back as well. I'm just going to use this spanner, actually going in from behind where the rear reflector is. Just going to find that. Right, so that spanner is on there now. I'm just going to tighten up this nut. Right, so I've now tightened that bottom one, this one here, just tighten that nice and tight with that spanner you can just see down at the bottom there, and Allen key. So now we've got to do exactly the same again, just at this top hole up here. So I'm just going to make sure that's in the hole. Obviously it's not the easiest to show you what I'm doing from behind because there's literally no gap whatsoever. I've just literally got to show you from the front because that's all I can do. So now I'm going to go in from behind, hold that nut in place, tighten up that bolt just up there with this Allen key. This bolt here is now all tightened up, and so is this one just up here, if you can see that. You have then got 3 self-tapping screws. There is a hole down the bottom, a hole in the middle, and also a hole right at the top. I don't know if you can see that one. So I've just got my 3 small black self-tappers. I'm just going to use the drill just to screw these in place, and then that will also give the bracket a bit more stability. So this is screwing the bracket into the plastics of the rear bumper. Right, so them 3 black self-tappers are now in. Now, as you can see, the mud flap goes this way. There is 3 holes in the mud flap, and there are also 3 holes on the bracket. So what I'm going to do is just bolt in this top one in place. So all you've got left in the fitting kit is 3 black plastic screws. You also then need to have 1 plastic or rubber washer on the front of it. You then put that through the mud flap, then on the back of the bracket you fit 1 more washer, and then you've got one of these plastic bolts as well. So I'm just going to go in with the top one first. Alright, so now that top one is kind of bolted in. Only want to do that loosely so it can still pivot. Now you want to find them holes down there, make sure it's all perfectly lined up. Right, you might not be able to see too much because we're just starting to lose the light. I've just tightened up these 3 plastic lug nuts, whatever they're called, with the washers on the back. Now I'm going to fit the wheel again, and then we're going to drop it again. Alright then guys, so it's now getting dark. It's like almost too dark for you to actually see me. I've got my interior light on. It's just started pissing it down, so yeah, we've done it just in time luckily. But obviously it's too late and too dark for you to actually see the RallyFlapz now. So I think what I'm going to do, leave it overnight. I'm going to go out for a drive now just to test them that they're fine, don't fly off or anything like that. And then I think I'll show you tomorrow in the light so you can see them properly, because otherwise it won't really be a proper video without showing you guys as well. So I'll catch you in the morning. Right then guys, so it's the next day. I actually took the car out for a little drive yesterday. Did actually go over a few bumps, and the rear does actually scrape a little bit when you're coming down off the bump. So what I'm going to do is just film a few cinematics for you, show them. The car is pretty filthy, to be fair. It needs a clean. Should have cleaned it this morning, but a bit shit weather. It might rain again tomorrow, so it's not really worth it, to be fair. I gave it a jet wash a couple of days ago, didn't really do much. But yeah, I'm just going to film a couple of little clips for you, show you what it looks like, and end the video there. So if you did like this video, be sure to leave a like, comment what you think, and please subscribe to the channel. So I'll see you guys in the next video.